Hello, Guardians. Welcome back to Tower Casuals, the Destiny podcast. I am one of your hosts, Corey Deering, and alongside me, as always, is the Cloud Striding, Tormentor running campaign legend, Josh Finney.
Oh, my God. Hi, Corey.
Hi, Josh. How are you on this Lightfall week?
It's been a fucking week, man.
Oh,
It's been a fucking day. It's been a day. For those of you who don't know...
You're being terrorized by baseball-sized hail or something.
Yeah,
Land
we're going through
hurricanes.
it down in Dallas. It was described by the weatherman on TV as a land hurricane as to what was going on outside my front door. The wind, literally, everything was completely still outside, and then it went from 0 to 70 literally quicker than you can snap your fingers.
Yeah.
There was a tornado warning that popped literally right after that line of wind hit me. Tornado warning went off, so we had sirens. Funnel cloud formed over downtown Dallas, and they kept playing the Mavs Sixers game, so that was fun.
Ooh. Nice.
There's like 200,000 people in the Metroplex without power right now.
Ooh, double nice.
Yeah, and we have determined that if I ever had to be on TV as a weatherman or a reporter during something like this, I would probably be fired because I would just, all I'd be able to say when they're like, Josh, can you tell us how it's looking out there? I'd be like, Rick, I don't know, man. Shit's bad. Shit's real bad, y'all. That's all I'd be able to say. I'm going to be honest. My cousin's a news broadcast or a news producer, and she is hunkered down. She lives about 2.5 hours outside of Dallas in a smaller town off I-20. Tyler, Texas, and she'll be hunkered down at the news station tonight. She works the overnight shift as it is, so she's already in at work. Any copy I would write would also say, just shit's bad, man. Shit's bad. Take it seriously. Shit's bad. So, outside of that,
I also, something crazy happened to me today as well, Josh.
Oh, Lord.
I would like to share with you.
Hit me, Corey.
So I was driving to work this morning, back roads, listening to pods, minding my own business. Dude, I'm just driving straight, man. All of a sudden I see this big black blur in the corner of my eye. As I turn my head, a giant bird hits my car. Yeah, just
shit's bad, y'all. Shit's bad.
It hits my car, dude. It's the loudest noise I've ever heard in my life. I swear to God. I look at I'm like I swerve a little bit to the right because I'm like, oh my God, something just hit my car. And I look at my rearview mirror. I see this thing go straight up in the air and then straight down and hit the pavement and not move.
That bird committed suicide.
Yeah, it's dead. It's gone.
Like that bird was just done. It was tired of taking shit from humanity. It was done.
Yeah, it was
that, or it also heard about the baseball-sized hail and was like, I don't want any part of this, y'all.
Yeah, it was.
So was there any damage to your car?
No, there was a big smudge of bird goop though.
Oh no!
So
did you like? And I mean this in all seriousness and not like sarcastically. Did you like almost shit yourself when you heard that?
Dude, I fucking almost jumped out of my car.
How tight did you clench?
Dude, it was tight. Okay. You couldn't
like,
get a piece
I gotta
of
know,
paper
could, if you shoved a lump of coal up there, could you have shitted out a diamond?
I could have bought 3 houses.
Oh, damn. Okay. Well, that went from mildly amusing into Leonardo DiCaprio and Blood Diamond territory. So...
Yeah. Are we allowed to talk about Leonardo DiCaprio right now? I heard some things.
I mean,
is he dating babies again?
He's doing the same creepy shit he's been doing for years.
Oh, okay. So nothing.
He is, however, one of our finest working actors, and he's like, I don't know. I feel very weird about it, and the older he gets, the weirder it's going to get. But we didn't cancel Jack Nicholson for it either. So
yeah,
I don't know what we're going to do about Leo, but I still like Leo has not sexually assaulted somebody. That's the important thing here.
That's true.
Like I can count on one hand the amount of actors or actresses that when they're in a movie, I probably will go see it, and Leo is like one of those 3 or 4.
Yeah,
I think that might do like irreparable damage to like entertainment and pop culture as a whole. If Leo and Tom Hanks are like the 2 that I'm like, please God, just never. Please
Yeah.
never. So, Leo, please date somebody like at least in their 30s. Let's start there. At least in their mid 30s.
Yeah, is that gonna happen though?
Can
I
we
mean,
close the age gap just a little bit? Because it is creepy. It is really
yeah,
creepy.
yeah. I mean, it is. You're not wrong.
You know what else is creepy, Corey?
What?
Fucking
What's creepy?
tormentors. Fucking tormentors.
Yeah, I still would rather fight a tormentor than a fucking wyvern, though. Oh my god. But yeah, dude, the
So let's
tormentors. Okay,
let's let's
let's get it.
let's
Okay,
just
so
let's get into the nitty gritty of it.
yeah, so we're doing our kind of Lightfall campaign discussion. By the way, shout out to Zal Ambrosio last night, man. I was like planning on staying up most of the night trying to finish this
Mhm.
campaign because I mean, let's be honest, I haven't exactly been the greatest at reviewing a campaign the last couple times one's been released. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do it this time. I got about 2/3 of the way through on Tuesday night. I was like, you know what? I'll finish it up tomorrow night. And I was making my way through, and Zhao Ambrosia jumped into my game and helped me complete it. I was going to turn my headset on, but it was dead because, when you don't plug in a headset, it dies. And,
It's fair. Fair.
you know, but, I wanted to give him a proper shout out because he came in clutch, man. Came in clutch on that campaign.
Coming in clutch.
Technically, I finished it this morning before I went to work because I got 5 weasel,
Oh no.
bungee things. But I had already finished the final boss and the watched the final cutscene. It was more the talk to
Gotcha.
Zavala and Ikora and go back
Yeah.
to
The
Neomuna.
extra shit.
Yeah. So I guess we should probably make this right now spoiler warning.
Yeah. If you didn't catch that from the thumbnail or from the episode description, this is going to be full spoilers. We're not holding anything back.
Yeah.
And we are just out of. I know that Corey didn't get a chance to get to it because it is a fairly decently long quest. To give some added context to the campaign, I would like to discuss the exotic machine gun quest.
Yeah.
I think it's actually very important
Mm-hmm.
to where we are in the story at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And it's probably the best part of the game, honestly. So we're going to discuss that. So full spoilers for the entire campaign for
Mm-hmm.
anything that you can do on Neomuna,
Mm-hmm.
and the exotic machine gun quest. We will not
Yeah.
talk the lore from the archivist missions, which leads you up to getting the heavy stasis glaive. And as of the time of this recording, I've not been able to get that exotic pistol because they just put the aspects live, or fragments live, maybe about the time that we're hitting record on this.
Yeah.
So,
They are
with
all
that,
live. I turned it on and checked. They are all live right now.
okay, they are all live. I'm really glad that I'm sitting on 1,000 Strand fragments. All right, let's do it, Corey. Let's jump in.
Yeah. All
So
right.
let's
So I
initial. Go
yeah.
ahead. Initial
Oh,
thoughts, Corey. I want to hear your initial thoughts. Corey and I have not spoken about the campaign at all to one another.
I haven't even looked at anybody's reviews or anything because
Yeah,
I wanted to come in here with a clean thought. The only thing I texted Josh was you might have an angry Corey later.
I thought that was in reference to your children and not to the game.
Oh, yeah. I mean, part of it was
I
that,
absolutely thought
but
that was your
also,
kids. Full disclosure.
but also, I so the story good. I like where it's going, and I do know that they're going to continue this story all the way through
Yeah,
the year plus obviously the final shape, right?
yeah.
But I really felt like this campaign was a major step down from the Witch Queen overall. I felt like the back half of the campaign was better than the front half. Um
Mm-hmm.
but overall I did not really care a lot for at least the first half of the campaign, really at all. I really like the Cloud Striders. I really like Rohan and Nimbus. Rip Rohan.
Rip Rohan.
Yeah, man. I saw that coming a mile away after the first mission. Uh I don't know. I like Neomuna as a location, and just the verticality is super cool, and they obviously are trying to get you to use Strand a lot more, and I
Yeah.
wonder how this is going to change the rest of the game. But I don't know. I didn't really I really thought the Lightfall campaign was a step down from the Witch Queen campaign. Um,
So yeah, let's go ahead and start there because I echo a lot of the same thoughts and frustrations.
mhm,
I want to be really clear about something right off the bat. This is not going to be a I'm gonna shit all over Bungie take.
mhm. No,
I
I'm
have
not that
I think I
either.
have a very different take than most of the internet that I've seen. Reddit and Twitter are just aflame right now. I would
They're
remind
awful.
everybody this was roughly the same reaction that was had to Beyond Light, and I do
Yeah.
think Beyond Light is a lackluster story, but a lot of us kind of changed tune once we started getting into Empire Hunts and into the post campaign content. I mean, we all remember the Salvation Script quests.
Mhm,
We remember the Deepstone Crypt, and I
mhm,
think a lot of us outside of like hardcore raiders really enjoy that raid. I think it's
mhm,
a perfect intro raid, for
mhm.
example. As
Yeah.
such, it's a little hard to. I kind of killed myself to get as much done as I possibly could because I want to give as much context to this as possible, even though we're going to focus on the campaign today.
Yeah.
The campaign is rough.
Yeah.
I think that's the nicest way I can describe it. It's rough.
I would actually say I think I enjoyed the Beyond Light campaign a little bit more than this.
I refuse to say that. I mean, like obviously everybody can have their own impressions. I saw people literally trying to say that Shadowkeep and Vanilla Destiny 1 were better than this, and
Oh god,
I
no.
want to know what the fuck you're smoking.
No, 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 no. No, out
Um,
of the kind of what 7 major campaigns there are to
yeah,
Destiny,
I would count major releases.
I would say this would probably be middle of the road, probably like
Yeah,
3 or 4, I would
and I
say.
want to be clear, middle of the road is not middle of the road does not necessarily mean bad.
No.
When I
No, no,
say
no,
that
no,
I
no.
think that this was rough, I think it would have been fine. It wouldn't have been excusable, but it would have been more understanding if this was like 2 expansions ago, or if this
Yeah.
had come out before the Witch Queen and we had questions left to answer. I would have understood it a little bit more.
Mhm.
I think that for everything that the campaign does right, I want to focus on what it does right. There are
Mhm.
a lot of things this does right. It has the biggest, most bombastic encounters in any Destiny release. The I want to highlight a couple of things here. The Sparrow race outside of the Typhon Imperator is one of the funnest moments I've
Yeah.
ever had in a Destiny campaign. It very much echoed the escape from Not Riven last year.
Yeah.
Both I played this with on legendary difficulty with Nerd Generalist and Colonel Panic. For full disclosure, for the first 2/3 of the campaign, and then I finished with our friend Nadiki from the Discord. Shout out Nadiki for going through some of that insane shit with me. Um, the Sparrow race out of the Typhon Imperator felt very reminiscent of the Maw from
Mhm.
Halo 1. There's a
Mhm.
lot of Halo 1 and Halo 2 callbacks
Yeah,
in this
I
game.
felt a lot of
Um,
specifically
the
the back half, right? Like you said the Sparrow race. I actually thought the strike that they make you do during the
yeah,
campaign was really just I
I
really liked it a
I
lot.
think the opening mission is very reminiscent of Cairo Station. I mean, seeing a tormentor for the first time is a memorable moment because
Oh,
I got grabbed by it and killed by
mhm.
it when it first appeared because I didn't realize it was going to grab you that quickly.
Yeah,
Um,
it's you got to stay away.
when we faced the first one, boarding a Cabal drop pod to go to Neomuna is really cool. I think that's a really cool moment. It's
Mhm.
very reminiscent of giving the Covenant back their bomb.
Yeah.
When you're
I
blowing
got a
up the
lot of
ships getting out of there.
ODST vibes from that actually
Yeah,
too.
I got that. That's kind of what I was feeling when you crash into the ruined city. I
Yeah.
literally said that. I was like, man, this kind of takes me back to starting out ODST.
Mhm.
When you wake up as I think it's Buck. Felt very reminiscent of that one.
Mhm.
But for every cool moment like that, and
Mhm.
I think there are several awesome moments. You had those two. You got the strike. I really love the strike personally. I think that's going to be an
Yeah.
absolute bitch on Grandmaster,
Oh
but I'm
yeah, it's gonna
excited
suck,
to
but
see
it was
things like
awesome.
that. And the final mission is incredible. It may be one of the best Destiny missions we've ever gotten overall. You have fucking NPCs actually fighting with you, and it's what we've
Mhm.
asked for so long. Keitel and her troops legit were locking down a Tormentor while Nadiki and I dealt with the other one,
Yeah.
and then we were able to like
Yeah, it was
pivot
cool.
around. That was a really cool, like it felt very last stand, especially when you all get pushed up the ramps.
Yeah.
Felt very cool, felt very earned. Racing through the building and you're hearing Callus rampaging through it. You
Yeah.
get down there, and when
I
you
kept
fight,
turning around because
yeah,
I kept thinking Callus was like I thought it
I
was gonna
thought he
be
was
like
chasing us. Yeah.
yeah, I thought he was chasing us, and if you like stopped, he was gonna like run you over and you were gonna have to restart. That's what I kind of thought. That's what like the sound design in that mission in particular was incredible.
I think that the boss fight is extremely challenging. And
Yeah,
I
it was
really enjoyed. And I want to say that about the legendary campaign. I enjoy the difficulty of the legendary campaign. I do think it was a tad bit down from Witch Queen's difficulty, which is good because the Savathun fight was just fucking wild on day one on
yeah.
legendary. The Callus fight it's up there though. Like we legitimately had to keep going back to the drawing board to figure out what we were gonna do to manning it. But I think it's
Mhm.
really rewarding. Here in life. So we've gotten through the good. Let's talk about the bad and the ugly.
Well, hold on. I want to go back to the tormentors real quick before we get to the to the
Go back
bad.
to the tour. Well, yeah, I was going to circle around to them as a
Oh,
full
okay.
discussion.
Okay, then we can talk
Yeah,
about that
I
then.
just kind of want to like overview things real
Yeah.
quickly
Okay.
in
Yeah.
terms of the bad stuff. We're a little too late in the game to. Oh, also shout out to the cinematics and music team. Holy shit,
Yeah, the cinematics are awesome.
we got a cinematic with almost every mission, which was very much needed. This is probably the
Yes.
most cinematic heavy Destiny release we've had since maybe Destiny 2, since Vanilla D2 released.
Mm, yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it felt like it had the budget. It felt like it had the cinematics budget for that. I'm not going to say the overall budget,
Mhm.
the cinematics budget. Let's talk about
Yeah.
the bad. Let's talk about the
Mhm.
bad.
Yes.
It's too late in the game to be introducing new concepts and not be explaining them in the same game. You have one major release after this. Everything about this release feels like it very much feels like parts of the game should not exist because there's such a heavy focus on Strand. And I don't think that Strand is a bad power. I think the fact that it is crammed down your throat in a way that it does not affect the story at all, by the way,
No, there's
is
literally a story mission where like Osiris is training you with Strand and it doesn't progress the story like
which
at
is really
all.
silly, by the way, because that is the most god awful fucking thing on Legendary was that time trial.
Yeah.
Um, I did not enjoy that. I did not enjoy having Strand forced on me because it fucks with your builds too. It fucks with
Mhm.
your builds when you're forced to do
Mhm.
that. Did not enjoy it. There was very little purpose. If we were like using those powers to destroy like more of those like light suppressors, I could understand that.
Mhm.
But you encounter those for like 2 missions and then never again.
Mhm.
It reeks of really lazy storytelling. But like, if you were to remove all the missions where you're forced to use Strand, you have maybe 6 real missions in this game, and that feels like it probably should have been the first half of what will be the final shape, because the impression
Yeah.
I get is that the final shape as it exists now going forward is what Lightfall was supposed to be. This
Yeah.
feels like they thought of this, they realized, because we found out last year it was being split into 2 releases, or before
Mhm.
Witch Queen, excuse me, the Witch Queen proper reveal. We found out it was going to be Lightfall and then the final shape.
Yeah.
Around that time they had to have realized, shit, we have just a little, not a lot, a little too much story to cram into one game. But we also have these concepts we have to introduce. We have to introduce the veil. We have to introduce well, I mean, mainly the veil. We have to tell the backstory of the witness. And I think the clarification they gave in the TWAB today should calm some people like myself and Bife down a bit when it comes to the narrative, saying like, hey, this story is going to unfold the entire year. But I think that's also really poor in a game where seasons are taken out. That's really bad storytelling to me. That's a
Mhm.
not bad storytelling. I want to clarify that. That's not bad storytelling. That's bad game management.
Mhm.
I'm gonna backseat game dev for a second. I understand you have to have seasons. There is such a tonal shift between what happens in Lightfall and what is happening in Season of Defiance. There is such a tonal shift. It almost feels like they should be flip flopped.
Yeah.
Um, I'm coming around on Nimbus slightly, and that's because of the LMG quest largely. But I do think that he is the weakest NPC we've gotten in a well, I would say in a while, since Varix. Varix sucked too. Sorry.
Ah.
Varix and Beyond Light sucks, Corey. He does fuck all.
Ah.
Tell me what Varix does in Beyond Light.
Absolutely nothing, but I love
Absolutely
Varys.
fuck all. He does nothing, and he's like still like, hey man, I still think Aramis is right, but she's like kind of nuts, so I don't want to follow her.
Mhm. I
So
love Varix.
I
I
know you do,
ordered
and it
my
pains me. That's
statue.
why it pains me to say that, but I think it's such a sharp
He does kind of suck in
downturn
Beyond Light
from
though.
Finch, who, by contrast, was one of the better planetary vendors we've had.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, and I've seen a lot of people say, like, "Well, why do you guys hate Nimbus so much? Like, they're like Cade 6." And
Hmm.
I would say to that, yeah, Cade's shtick was getting old by the end too. Cade's shtick was fine in the Taken King. He brought the only comedy to a very serious expansion, not the other way around, where it feels like no one's really taking shit seriously except for Osiris.
Yeah.
And even Osiris taking it seriously is just composed of him yelling at us, saying we're out
Hmm.
of time. Dude,
Yeah.
you clearly have Strand like at the end of the game. Why don't you? I was expecting him and Keitel to come swinging in. Honestly, when we were fighting Callus,
Yeah.
when we got
I
to
thought
that phase
Osiris
two,
was
I
for sure.
really thought Osiris and fucking Nimbus were gonna come flying in.
Yeah.
Um, but the narrative is just, and the narrative is where I have the main complaints. It is all over the place. So
It really is.
let's go ahead, because this is going to be, I think this is the bulk of the complaint here.
Yeah.
So you have that
Can
awesome
I say
opening.
something before you get
You
started,
can
just real
say
quick?
something
Because
before I get on my soapbox.
I know you're gonna go really in depth in it, and
Yeah.
you do a lot better job. I felt like there were like 1,000 things going on in the story, and
Yep.
none of them made sense together.
Yep.
Right? That's that's my one kind of gripe with this, where I'm like, I'm interested in all these threads, but
Yeah.
I feel like some of these ideas maybe could have fit into seasons. Some of these ideas could have fit in like a different campaign. Like it just felt
Yeah.
like
So
we have
let's.
all these ideas that we need to get out. And this was kind of what I was worried about when we were talking before this release, maybe a couple months ago. I'm like, how are they going to fit all this story into 4 or 5 seasons if the final
Yeah.
shape is the final kind of push, right? You know?
So let's start there. Let's start there. Let's start with doing too much, spreading ourselves too thin. um I think it's clear that they weren't going to be able to cram everything into one game, and I think that's why I honestly think they split it solely because they need the seasons in between,
Hmm.
and they had to force some of the stuff to the seasons in between. I think choosing to, if it really does happen this way, putting like, what is the witness actually after, what is he like
Hmm.
altogether, or what is it altogether. They actually
Hmm.
call it an it.
Hmm.
What is up with that? I think relegating that to seasons is a really poor decision. If that is what happened, I'll reserve judgment until we actually see it. But to not put that into the game is such a bad decision. I think the inaction of the Vanguard is hilarious. They've been nowhere to be seen in every expansion, essentially.
Yeah.
Even the city is largely the Guardian rallying the forces to take
Right.
it back into Red War, and Forsaken. Zavala forbids you from doing anything. Shadowkeep, only Ikora shows up. Beyond Light, they kind of pretend that they don't see what you're doing out there on Europa. And Witch Queen, well, Ikora went and sat on Mars for some campaign dialogue, and that was about it. Um, the narrative, though, to introduce the Veil so late, and I do think it's hilarious because the Veil was the code name for the Darkness race, and we've talked about it so many
Hmm.
times on this show. I think
Hmm.
to retcon that into being an artifact is both kind of ingenious and hilarious because it's clearly a nod, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to try and interpret the Veil the best way that I can, because we know fuck all about it. We know it's a paracausal artifact that clearly is of the same design that, I won't even say clearly, but in my interpretation is it's of the same kind of design that the pyramids and the Traveler are.
Yeah.
And it kind of exists in the space between. Strand supposedly comes from the Veil, which explains why, like, it's the energy from the Veil, which explains why Cabal have Strand shields. That's the in-game explanation.
Yeah.
I don't think we really needed an explanation for that, but okay, like, okay, you gave them energy types because you want us to match up shields.
Right.
Congratulations. Um, but if the and I'm gonna try and interpret what the witness wants here a little bit, because it's left so unclear. He etches out that triangle, which gives us the original Lightfall logo that we saw a couple years ago, back before
Hmm.
Beyond Light,
Yep.
and then him and the pyramids that are formed around it just kind of disappear into there. From what we know about the Traveler has Elsie in the time loop, for example.
Hmm.
I wonder if, because something that the witness says. in the Witch Queen, at the end of the Witch Queen, is your pale heart holds the key. The key to fucking what? Like, now you've got the veil
Right.
in here, which is weird. And this is why I want to talk about the exotic machine gun quest, because the exotic LMG quest, full spoilers here. If you haven't done the quest, you've been warned. Deals with Rohan's research into what the Vex were doing. You find out the Vex were trying to create a copy of the veil. They were trying to create their own veil, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And through some shenanigans and through some of the quests you have to go do and whatnot, you eventually find a leaf from the Tree of Silver Leaves from Season of Arrivals. And eventually, you find that Rohan's research leads you to back to the Black Garden. You go back through most of the raid in reverse,
Mm-hmm.
fighting your way through it. And it serves as a really good send off to Rohan, who's a character you really don't get to spend a whole lot of time with, but it actually made me a little emotional at the end. And you go through, you're given his LMG. His LMG is the exotic LMG. Nimbus gives it to you before you go fight the boss. But the Taken are there
Mm-hmm.
fighting the Soul Divisive. And the Soul Divisive, if you remember correctly, are the Vex that worship the Black Heart in Vanilla Destiny 1.
Mm-hmm.
They are the ones that reside inside of the Black Garden. They've always been thought to be doing the bidding of the Witness. It's outright stated that the Witness is sending the Taken in there to destroy the Vex mine that you're chasing through it, the Consecrated Mine, because it wants its core destroyed. It doesn't want anything leading back to itself. You kind of come to find out that the Black Heart was the Witness's attempt to create a copy of the Veil, and it didn't work. So we kind of like, in a way, did him a favor and delayed the inevitable by destroying it, or
Mm-hmm.
not even destroying it, but like cleansing the Black Garden in Destiny
Mm-hmm.
1. It's been like 8 years since I played that campaign, so please forgive me if my
Maybe
understanding
you
is a
should
little
play it
off.
again, Josh.
I
Give it
genuinely, I think I may have to go play that final mission again.
Ooh.
And so as a result, I still have no idea what the veil is. My best guess is that because every time that we see the Witness, with the exception of him floating through space, there's shattered glass around him, like when he's talking to Callus through his
Yeah.
dreams, things of that nature. It makes me think that somehow the Witness is not whole, and that entering the Traveler will make him whole. Maybe the Traveler, in a way, is like this. I'm gonna keep throwing this word around, paracausal. That's like, I don't know, like space supernatural, like timey wimey bullshit. Like,
You think this is a Neo uh Agent Smith sort of deal?
no, I think that the Traveler, ultimately, I think that the Traveler possibly acts as a prison at this point. Your Pale Heart holds the key. Zavala and Ghost both note after the campaign that the Traveler is dead. The ghosts feel different. They no longer feel the connection to the Traveler. Um, and indeed, if you look on your if you look outside the helm, you look
Indeed.
on your director map, the big ass triangle is there.
Yeah.
This is, we're entering kind of uncharted territory, and I think that's something that's going to be explained over the year. But to not explain what the veil is, like, to circle back to my main criticism, not explain what the veil is, and for their, ultimately, I mean, so you have a couple issues here, right? You don't explain what the veil is. We never really get a sense of what Callus is trying to achieve here. You know, Callus just wants to basically party until the end of time. And the Witness is like, when he realizes that, you know, the Witness definitely knew this. The Witness literally uses Callus as a pawn to get us to chase him to the veil because he takes control of our ghost. That cutscene irks me more than anything in the entire game, I think. Our ghost starts going up, and instead of us doing anything, and I will accept a few explanations here, instead of us doing anything and us yelling into our earpiece, Osiris, what's wrong? We don't use stasis to freeze our ghost. Nimbus does not zip up on his silver surfer board to grab him until after the connection has already happened. He didn't think of this beforehand, obviously. We don't use we
Nimbus is an
don't
idiot.
use fucking Strand to pull Ghost back. Which I
Yeah.
can accept the in-universe explanation of, well, if you used it, the Guardian is probably exhausted. Where did we get Kvostov from, by the way?
Right. Like Kvostov here, but like not in the game
Yeah, that's
seemingly
kind of
right
wild.
now.
By the way, my Guardian definitely had Taipan on him at the time. You 100% could have shot Ghost down.
I
Um,
definitely had a
I had Galley. I
outbreak
had Galley.
profession.
Galley beats all.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, to not do anything, and we see the hesitation of our guardian to not shoot Ghost. If our guardian had just done what he needed to and shot, it's a lot easier said than done, but I think that would have added so many stakes. I'm going to armchair develop for a second. We're going to make the campaign better for a brief second.
Yep, here we go.
What if you shoot your Ghost and you get a puka to accompany you the rest of the year? And part of what you're doing throughout this and final shape is you are fixing Ghost.
I mean, that would make sense.
What if you're fixing Ghost? What if you're fixing Ghost and you have to use pieces of Sagira's shell to do it? So that's a quest line that you do with Osiris. Mm-hmm. What if we don't have Strand at all in this game, and you have Osiris leave partway through Season of the Seraph after the whole Spire of the Watcher thing, and like, oh yeah, I guess his visions are real. What if he takes off with Saint to go with Saint or even Drifter? Drifter would have given him a lift. Him, Drifter, and Elsie. Eris, what if they all like just kind of fucked off together to Niamuna?
Yeah.
To see if Osiris's visions were correct, that there was a city in the clouds. You know?
Yeah.
Elsie's gotten close to there before. She's gone to a space station out there. Like, why are these things not happening? They keep talking Ishtar Collective, Ishtar Collective, Ishtar Collective. Maya Sundaresh is brought up so many times in the post-campaign quest. Why are we not going back to the Ishtar Collective on Venus?
Right.
You know? We find out that this was the third of the Exodus ships that was launched and was lost out there, presumed destroyed and lost, and it's there. It's there. There's an Exodus ship right there.
Yeah, it's right there.
There's an interesting painting in one of the ships that we go into. I think it's in the Typhon Imperator. I don't remember exactly where it is, but there is a mural that is seen, a darkness mural that is seen somewhere in the game. I saw a screenshot of it where it looks like there's ghosts in it, and it looks like Neomunans are uplifting the awoken species, ultimately. Almost like a higher evolution. So that was a really interesting one. Oh, and you can clearly see Nezarec in the painting, by the way. Other things that I kind of have a gripe with, I mean, again, you could have done so many things to fix this whole thing. You could have done so many things, I think, to make the stakes bigger and better. I'm not saying that I needed Callus to have a change of heart. I actually think it's better that he didn't. It's an awesome end fight. You kind of get the sense in the final seconds when you kill him, he yells something. He yells a name. And at first we were wondering, like, well, is that like a moon of Torabottle or something? And it's actually being speculated that it's probably Keitel's mother's name. Yeah, that like it's that second as he's dying, he realizes what he's done, like what's happened to him.
Right.
So I think having Callus die completely irredeemed is actually a poetic end to his character. He always wanted to be the one there at the end of the universe, and instead you killed him to try and stop the apocalypse. Mm-hmm. He was given a Cabal's death.
Yeah.
I don't want to dwell too much on the negative. It's really hard to get past not only all that, but then the narrative is also affected by Strand. The focus on Strand takes away so much. Anytime the campaign would start getting momentum, bam, here's Strand. Here's Strand. You got to master Strand. You got to master Strand. Why do I need to master Strand? Why, when those light dimming arrays are up, why can I not use stasis in there?
Right.
These are questions I would like the answer to.
Yeah.
The whole idea of Callus being a disciple is fine, and you see he clearly hasn't learned shit. He hadn't learned shit by the time the campaign, but there's just so little done with him. He gets the piss scared out of him once by the witness, and he has some dialogue with Keitel, but even that feels like kind of throwaway and like, oh, this probably could have been like put in a season. Mm-hmm. I almost feel like some of this stuff should have been taken care of during Haunted. I think you could have done everything genuinely everything involving Callus, except the final fight probably could have been handled during Haunted or during like cutscenes and Plunder or something like that. Like I actually think if you move a lot of the cutscene events between like the Witness and Callus to like the last two seasons, it actually would have flowed a little bit if they were like the end of season cutscenes, for example. So we see like the slow poisoning of his mind, or like if this was getting teased back with, we know it got teased in dialogue, but what if it was teased like in actual like cutscenes with Vox Obscura? Not unlike when we saw Crow's resurrection in Black Armory, and then nothing was done with it for a couple of years. Like it actually would have been kind of cool in retrospect. Now, again, armchair developing. if you would have teased Callus's resurrection as a disciple after you completed Presage for the first time, or complete Presage on Master for the first time. That
Yeah.
actually kind of could have been a cool Easter egg, and it would have helped cut down. You probably still could have done Final Shape. I won't lie, I'm a little scared about the narrative going into Final Shape now.
Yeah.
I think there is simply too much to do. Like, and I think they kind of knew they were going to get some backlash. The fact that we got the season name announced ahead of time and a brief premise of it, we're not going to keep things secret this year. You kind of can't now. We already
Yeah.
know Season of the Deep is next. And I'm going to save a lot of that for our season talk next week. Some theories I have on the seasons, but this narrative is just all over the place. Like, for every cool, almost Michael Bay-esque moment that you have so many best in game, like best in series action moments. I think we talked about the Vex strike. We talked about the escape from the Typhon Imperator. We talked about the fight with Keitel against just this gigantic army. Talk about numerous enemies on screen. Holy shit. Talk holy crowd control, Batman.
Right.
There's so many cool things that they do, and it's all bogged down by inconsistent storytelling. It's bogged down by an NPC that you're either going to like, you're either tolerating him or you hate him. I don't think anybody outright loves Nimbus.
No. I
Um,
yeah, I don't know. I don't know
it's
about them.
it's hard to
Nimbus,
care about Rohan because he gets killed off halfway through, and you don't really have a chance to bond with him
man, I wish the Rohan like sacrifice would have happened like in a
at the end.
couple, like either at the end of the season, no, even at the end of the year. I feel like it would have helped Nimbus grow, or like somewhere
I would
maybe
have
in
been
like the
okay.
third season, like the
So
third
here's
season
my
this year to.
problem. I think he needed to die in game, and I will stand by this because the growth that Nimbus goes through in the LMG quest is actually so important to him, or to them as a character. I'm going to keep saying that, to them as a character. It's so important
Mhm.
that I'm okay with it, especially if this character is meant to be around for the next several years.
Mhm.
You start finding out things, in the post campaign stuff, and you're just like, you could have put some of this into the campaign and it would have been so much better. Like, there there's so many things that are just so inconsistent when it comes to the lore, when it comes to the lackluster storytelling, but then there's so many cool things at the same time in the post campaign. The quest in the Black Garden, the fact that you're hearing unintelligible whispers, but if you equip Nezarec's Whisper or Nezarec's Sin, you can understand those whispers.
Mhm.
It's Nezarec talking to you. We get the explicit confirmation that he's actually terrorizing the citizens. And, now, I mean, it's all but confirmed that he's essentially he's being set up to be either the raid boss or a major encounter in the raid.
Yeah.
Because it's called Root of Nightmares. You can't get much more on the nose than that.
Right.
And, like, to see things like that finally pay off is cool. I think that's really cool, but I should be feeling that sensation in the campaign too.
Yeah.
um, I should be feeling like Callus was a major part of this franchise for how many years have we been since Destiny 2 launched? 2017. For almost 6 years now, he's been a major part of the franchise, and he has an awesome final fight where you actually, when you kill him. But everything kind of leading up to that final mission is a bit of a dud with him.
Yeah.
He's not this intimidating presence. He's just kind of like this, I don't know, over the top like Disney villain that I feel is more likely to steal the Aristocats than to bring the apocalypse. Um,
That's
I think
funny.
there's some really, really cool imagery that we see. I want to kind of circle back to some positives on the narrative side of things, really more cinematics than anything. I think that the imagery, we continue getting the imagery of the garden, is a garden and flowers and whatnot. Like when the Traveler's Beam blasts the Witness's ship, is one of the most cinematic, spectacular moments in a franchise full of them, I think. That was very cool. That was very, very. I don't know. I don't. The Death Star laser beam, man. We saw it. Saw it last week. We got to see the full thing now. It's awesome. It's a cool. It's a cool opening to the game, and the story unfortunately can't keep up with those cool moments. Those
Yeah.
cool moments need to be built around a better story. It's pretty telling that Strand was supposed to be the Witch Queen thing. To me, it feels telling.
Yeah.
And that's not a bad thing. I wanna clarify. I absolutely do not think that it's a bad thing. I think Strand is a worthwhile addition to the game.
Yeah. I
Um,
actually really like Strand. I didn't,
yeah,
obviously,
let's shift. Do we have any more thoughts on do we have any more thoughts on the narrative? Because I don't want to dwell on narrative all night.
no, I think my only worry is that this is the beginning of they've started so many threads and are continuing so many
Yes,
threads that I'm worried that 1 year is not enough time to kind of wrap these things up before the final shape, or get to a place where we can understand them and they have a continuing kind of thing after the final shape, right? Because I kind of wish this just had like one major focus that was aiming at the
yes.
final shape.
This I'm gonna save that thought. I'm gonna save that thought. It's an overall expansion thought if I want to get out at the end. Um, let's let's talk tormentors for a second. So
Way
we don't
cooler than the light barriers and
uh
the
yeah, cooler than Hive Guardians.
yeah.
Better than champs. Replace champs with these.
Oh my
Not
gosh, these
every
things.
champ, obviously, but I think these are like when I see a champ, I'm like, oh, okay, let's stun, let's kill. Like I don't really get panic unless it's a grandmaster.
Yeah,
These things are fucking terrifying.
yeah,
They are fucking tanks. They're mini Rolks in a way, except the first. And it's funny. The first times we shot off the shoulders, we were like, "Oh, he's showing his chest. He's gonna go into a damage phase now." Like we stunned him. Nope. He goes full on sicko mode on you and tries to murder you.
yeah. The first
Seeing.
time you see one when you're in
Mhm.
the like that first kind of mission and you're running through, right? And like you get stuck in this room and you need you need to get through because you have the key to open the next door, but the thing doesn't show up until you kill the tormentor. And like
Absolutely terrifying.
I was in there,
Absolutely horrifying.
I was like kind of looking where to go. I'm like, where am I going? And the tormentor was behind me and I didn't notice. And then tormentor grabbed me. I didn't even know there was a tormentor in there.
Hmm.
And he grabbed me and I was like, oh my God. Scary, dude. These things are scary.
These things are absolutely terrifying. And I love the additional challenge they bring. We had to kind of like plan our damage phases when we were fighting Callus. We couldn't just nuke these things.
Hmm.
Although I will say the amount of times that they fall off the map is hilarious. I have seen so many of these things like lunge at you and like jump off the map. It's actually hilarious. That's the only way I think we survived some of the encounters on Legend was
Yeah,
by
like the
seeing
ones on
these
the
things die off.
rooftops. Like the ones on the rooftop when you're kind of
The
making your
one
way
the
up.
ones in the Callus fight specifically.
Oh, really?
I had them. Yeah, they would try to make the jump and they would just fall, and it
That's
was low
funny.
key hilarious to watch it happen. They did it a few. It happened a few other times, and it was just hilarious every single time. It's like, oh, they noped out of here. I
Nope.
tormentors add a challenge in the way that Hive Guardians really didn't. And it
Yeah.
kind of makes sense that Hive Guardians really didn't because you still have to be able to get close enough to finish off their ghost.
Yeah.
But those things, it felt like, give them a couple galleys, they're dead.
Yeah.
These, they don't give a fuck what you shoot at them.
No, they really
They
don't.
don't care. I think the suppression field is a little insane. But overall, very worthy addition. I have to wonder if this is like testing bringing in the actual like darkness race next year. I have to
Yeah.
wonder if we're teasing that
Yeah.
because these beings also kind of sound like the things that Drifter may have encountered when he was traveling the beyond the solar system. The monolith creatures, as he described them, this kind of sounds like this might have been them.
Yeah.
Which I think would be a really cool callback. But where do you even slot that in
Right.
at? He was too busy playing pirate last year to tell us about these things a little bit more.
Pirates.
There's really not a lot more to say on tormentors. They're awesome. They're a great addition. They're a worthy addition. I'm not
Hmm.
looking forward to fighting these things on Grandmaster or in the raid because they're inevitably going to be all over the raid.
Oh yeah, these things are going to be everywhere.
I'm terrified. They're going to be in that final boss, and I'm not happy.
Yeah.
So let's talk Strand a little, Corey. because I wasn't really
Let's
going
do
to
it.
focus on Strand tonight, but we kind of have to. We
Yeah.
have to talk a lot about Strand because it's shoved down your throat so much in the campaign.
God, I feel like every 10 steps is like, use Strand. Use
Use
Strand.
Strand Guardian. We're running out of time.
I feel like you're encouraged to use it, and then Osiris is annoyingly screaming at you the first half of the campaign. You don't know what it is. Don't touch it. And then he
You're
like,
encouraged to use it, and surprise, you get fucked half the time when you use it because maybe on like normal you can use it, but on the legend campaign, you should not be
uh-uh.
picking that up. You should just use your loadouts that you have unless it absolutely forces you to do it.
Yeah.
I gotta know what you think as a Titan because we were both pretty down on this subclass. I gotta know what you think because Titans seem to be loving what's going on right now.
I kind of like it. It feels like so. I thought it was gonna be kind of like a mix
It's a
between.
raw DPS super, by the way. I don't know if you saw the numbers from Astacross. It's like fourth highest damage output in the entire game of
Mhm.
anything.
Yeah, I thought it was gonna be a mix between Striker, Titan, and Behemoth, and it actually feels like a way more controlled Behemoth, where like especially because like you have the two swords and you're just kind of running and slicing and whatever. It feels
Mm-hmm.
really good. It almost feels like you're using a sword, honestly, but like does way more damage. Um, I also, one of my favorite things to do is use the grapple and then lunge at enemies and take out 4 or 5 of them because it feels like a supercharged shoulder charge.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I'm actually really enjoying Strand. I ran around a little bit uh earlier and was just trying different things out, jumping off buildings and using the grapple to kind of get places, and then uh you know use the Strand powers to take out enemies. It was actually really fun to use. I'm actually shocked at how much I like it. Uh, I'm excited to kind of go in and see what aspects work best. I haven't looked at
Mm-hmm.
any of this stuff just because I've been trying to finish the campaign, but I'm excited to see what aspects work well with a playstyle that I really like. It's very mobile, which I like. I feel very agile. I like it, and that's not something I'm used to as a Titan, obviously. You
Yeah, I think that there's a lot to. I think there's a lot to unpack here. So Titans get an awesome. I think all three got a really cool super.
Yeah.
The Hunter and so the Warlock one is great for burst damage and for crowd control. I think the Hunter one works best as crowd control. I was dropping in the playlist battlegrounds. I was dropping orange bars with one hit.
Mm-hmm.
I was dropping like orange hydras with one or two hits,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a really fun super. Like for pure damage, it's probably not the thing you want to run, but it is a lot. It is a lot of fun. The
Mm-hmm.
ground slam you can do as hunters is insanely rewarding.
Yeah.
Suspending everybody. I think that the Yondu arrow it needs to be buffed. You need to make that thing more powerful. I understand why it's not, but at least in PvE, you got to buff that thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, my major gripe about the Strand subclass, other than it just got crammed down my throat, because it's unfortunate that it was crammed so much, because this is actually a really cool ability, and I think it would have been justified if like you had when you enter the Thunderdome with Callus at the end, maybe you have to maybe like if you get Strand, it's like an insta kill or something on him,
Mm-hmm.
because like you grapple him or whatever.
Yeah.
I did get the final hit on my Callus run with because I ran again with Andre and Johnny yesterday. I did get it from just punching him. I got, or excuse me, it was with the Nadiki. I swung in with the grapple and did the super punch, and it killed him. That was insanely rewarding to watch. But the grapples, because there's not grapple points everywhere. Like you want us to use this, but the cooldown for the grapple, even if you build into it, is so absurdly long. In PV, you got extend. In PvP, fine, leave it like it is. Cool, it shouldn't be a crutch. You got to lessen that in PvE. You shouldn't
Yeah.
have to have an exotic to do that. And even if you do, it's only a hunter exotic.
Yeah.
You got to fix that. Um, I think Strand is in a really unique place. Obviously, a lot of the best aspects were locked behind the raid. I don't know if they still are. Is every fragment available now?
Yes.
Okay.
Every. Everything is available for Strand right now.
Okay, so
It
a
looks
lot of
like.
the best ones I think were ones that were being locked behind the raid completion. I'm very excited to try some of that. I'm finally building into it a little bit. Did a little bit of that this afternoon, before the land hurricane came. Um,
That's so stupid and
it
funny.
feels
I'm sorry.
so good doing this in conjunction with stasis guns. I was using the stasis SMG you can get from the new Super Public event on Neomuna, and that thing is a fucking monster. If you're running Strand, I ran it. I ran Strand with that SMG in a playlist battleground earlier. So I had a Strand Surge, and I think there was some other kind of Surge, but I was doing so it was like overloaded. I was doing so much damage. I just ran the SMG and my Strand abilities the entire time. I don't think I touched heavy once. I maybe popped a little bit of heavy on the meatball boss, and that was
Mm.
it. It was so much fun. I It's been a while since I had this much fun with a subclass. I think the wacky videos we've seen make it even better. I don't know if you've seen any of them, but like one of my favorite ones is two people grappled onto a Hydra and the Hydra just kept spinning in circles.
I haven't seen that. That's so
But
funny.
the all-time best one is there was a Titan that thunder crashed across this big chasm in the Vex network, and somebody grappled onto them and rode it all the way up the lift and out.
That's awesome.
That is just This is some of the wildest shit I've ever seen, and I love it so much. You chuck a tangle and you can grapple to it and just keep flying across the map. I would like to know if you I think you can grapple rockets, but I don't know for sure.
You can grapple anything that's airborne. I want to say that.
I grappled the Thresher in the final mission.
Yeah.
That was the most nauseating thing I think I've ever done because it kept spinning. But that was a lot of fun. I did greatly enjoy that. It dropped me up on where one of the AA guns was, and I probably got absolutely demolished because it's a legend campaign. But that was still really fun and goofy to do. I was using the zip around the Keitel boss arena when
Oh
we're
yeah.
fighting with her.
Yeah.
Just so many good moments in
There's
this game.
also there's also with Strand, when you kill an enemy with a berserker, it turns them into a bomb. I don't know if that happens for you or not, but it's super cool. Like if
Um,
you
Say that
it
again.
just when you kill someone with Strand, like with your melee of Strand, it turns them into a little green bomb that you can throw.
Oh yeah, that happens with that happens with everyone. Those are the
Okay.
tangles. Those are the
Yeah.
tangles you can throw.
Okay. Yeah,
Um,
it's just it
a
was
lot of
really
fun.
cool. Especially because like obviously they want you to use a grapple instead of a grenade. I think this is a good compromise, right? So I think that's cool.
Yeah, I think it's really good. I really enjoy it. I think it's a lot of fun. I'm excited to see where Strand goes from here.
Hmm.
Um, I hope that we don't have to wait another year or two for more fragments. I would like to see a few more fragments added to Stasis as the year goes on.
Hmm.
One thing I
Yeah.
will note about Strand, outside of the campaign woes and forcing me to use it, it's unfortunate because it's really fun. I was like predispositioned to not want to use it by the end, but it's a fucking blast. It's a fucking
Yeah.
blast.
It's super cool.
Having to rebuy the fragments on every single class is antiquated, outdated design that is not fun for anybody. I genuinely wanted to play my Warlock on Strand until I saw that.
Yeah.
And I was
They
like,
got to do something.
nope, I'm good. I'm not going to pay the $20. I'm not going to pay $20 to skip that.
I can't believe
I'm
that's
not doing it.
$20.
I don't care that much to do that. Maybe it's like 10 for each path or something. I don't know. But all I know is I saw $20 floating around earlier, and I just,
Oh, man.
dude, I did a whip. My neck snapped so fast doing a double take that I damn near got whiplash.
That's I don't like that.
I don't know if you know about this about me, but I don't have health care, so that's not a good thing.
Yeah, let's not,
Yeah, let's not try to kill Josh here. Um, let's let's talk about Neomuna and our wonderful Cloud Striders for a minute.
yes.
So Neomuna, I think like the Skybox, of course, continues to be absolutely beautiful. Skybox team killing it.
Oh
Skybox
yeah.
team still killing it. It never delivers on the promise of what we see in the Skybox, though. I
Yeah.
get that most of this is supposed to be taking place on rooftops, but it feels really, and I'm going to say this as delicately as possible, it feels really uninspired. Um,
I agree with you.
this follows every other patrol zone, though.
Yeah, it's just a big circle.
Every patrol zone sucks. Every
Yeah.
last one of them sucks. The Dreaming City is tedious to drive around. Sorry,
Yeah.
guys. The Dreaming City is really cool. It's tedious as fuck to drive around. Remember how much we had to beg for a second fast travel point on
Oh, I remember.
Europa?
I remember. Yeah.
The moon is not as good as you guys think it is.
No, the moon sucks. I never liked the moon though.
The
That's a
patrol zones in
personal thing
D1
for
were
me.
also terrible before anybody gets any sort of idea. The Dreadnought was the only cool thing, and that's because it was the first thing with a ton of secrets. And that's why we
Yeah, and
liked it so much.
it was one of the only things I didn't feel like you were just driving in a circle.
If the Dreadnought was in here today, you guys would hate it. Just saying. You guys would do nothing but bitch and moan. If the Dreadnought was a brand new
Oh man.
location for the first time here, you guys would complain. Y'all
Yeah.
would complain about the invisible platforms 24/7.
Oh god. Those things. Yeah. I mean, we already
So
kind of got those in the Witch Queen though. So with the
as
the
a destination, I think I actually like this better than the, and I'm gonna say something controversial. I like it better than the Throne World. The Throne World feels more alive because it feels like there's warring factions between the Hive and the Scorn, and that you're just trying to do shit, and there's Hive light bearers patrolling around too. Um,
Mhm.
but I actually kind of like Neomuna better. Maybe I just like Neomuna better because there's more fast travel points, frankly.
I'm gonna agree with you. I think the Throne World is super cool, but I also think the Throne World there's not enough of like it's most of it is like just the swampy area, and it's like, well, if I wanted swamps, I would just go back to the EDZ, you know? Like I know that there's a lot of like buildings and stuff like the Throne World, but like most of it you're in the swamp area, and it's like, well, I don't I want to be in a cool new area. I don't care about the swamps, you know? And I know like some of the rumors was like that swamp area was kind of repurposed from like maybe an old Chicago style patrol zone that they may or may not have done. I don't know, but like it was like, oh, man. But I agree with you. I think Neomuna is actually way cooler than the Throne World.
Yeah. Um, but despite it being cooler, Neomuna still kind of sucks. I'm not gonna lie to you. It kind of sucks. I like that there's so much the Vex architecture still in the game, and I don't know if that's gonna rotate each week with the Vex infiltration point. But
Yeah.
I like that we're reusing some of those assets that we liked so much from Splicer.
Hmm.
The I will say right now, the arcade lost sector is the best lost sector this game has ever done. It's up there with the Fallen nightclub from the Tangled Shore.
The Fallen
It's
Nightclub.
absolutely fantastic. It's missing Paul McCartney music, but it's pretty great.
Yeah.
It's genuinely a challenge too. Like I'm actually kind of afraid to go do that on like Legend or Master.
That's cool though. Like you
It's cool. It's like this just keeps coming back to a theme that I have going because like I gotta give praise to Terminal Overload, the new activity that's going on. That it rotates daily between three sectors. It rotates daily, and it's this big long public event that takes like 20 minutes, like 15 to 20 minutes, and you get two chests out of it. You can only unlock the second one with a key, but you get like guaranteed special weapons there's three weapons that only drop from that, and they rotate based on the day. That's where I got the Strand SMG from, as a matter of fact. I think it
yeah.
goes shotgun, SMG, uh, LMG. I think are the three that drop from there. That is a genuinely hard activity. You have to have a group of guardians. You can now the thing that they did do here, which we were asking for years to be done with escalation protocol, with the blind well, and with other various activities that we've had like this, is let us load straight into it.
Hmm.
You can load straight into an instance. It'll take you straight to that, even if there's not a fast travel point for that location. It'll take you straight there, but you can go with a fire team of 3 automatically if you want to put together a fire team. And it's putting the way I interpret it is other people who choose to load in there will automatically get put into your instance. But if somebody happens to be driving by, like Nadiki and I were day one, we drove by and fought the tier 3 boss.
Yeah.
We just didn't have a key to unlock that second chest, but that was really cool. You can stumble upon it just going around in the open world. And I think those opportunities are so cool. It feels like these are world bosses that are so challenging. You got threshers flying around, you got interceptors. Oh, we gotta kill Cabal. Oh, we gotta go take this plate from the Vex now. And there's this big Minotaur that spawns, and oh, we gotta pick up Vex craniums and shoot the boxes. And now there's a big tank, and there's a big Scion, and oh, there's a big ass wyvern we gotta fight here at the end. Oh, you gotta fight a Scion and then the wyvern, and you gotta go through these phases that drop their shields. It's teaching you these mechanics in a patrol event, technically.
Yeah.
And it's so cool. Those are the moments, like when I see things like that, I kind of go, how does anybody like the Throne World over this? Now, granted, the 3 types of public events are things we've been doing since vanilla D2, and that's completely unacceptable at this point. I'm just going to say it. It's completely unacceptable.
Yeah.
But that big public event is so fun. It's so fun. And I think that Bungie has kind of started to nail it with these funner activity types like that. So, man, I don't know. I don't know what else to say, how else to vocalize it. I think that it's funny. At once, it's a boring world, but if you go to the zone, if you go to the Vex infiltration zone, there's also like Strand things you can pick up all over the place. There, you get increased Strand drops, Strand bucks, and everything else, which is really fun.
Strand bucks.
Well, you do you get it for using Strand abilities and getting Strand kills.
Yeah.
So you're getting rewarded just for using the subclass, which is nice.
Yeah.
So you have that, but if you're not in that zone or in the one where the big event's going on, it's kind of dead.
Yeah.
It kind of sucks. The quest to get to the point where you can get a daily key sucks.
Does it?
No, that's not the one I'm thinking of. I'm thinking of something. There's a weekly you can get each week for the infiltration. It's a Vex infiltration mission you can do when the Vex in the Vex zone. That mission was simultaneously awesome, and there is also a hint that Ashermere is in the Vex network. By the way,
That's cool.
there have been humanoid figures spotted inside the Vex network when you go to do the mission. But it's a time trial mission. You refresh your timer by killing enemies. You gotta fight your way through champs and through a boss and everything else. And there is a triumph that you have to do it. You have to do one of those in under 7 minutes in order to get the title. I think things like that are really cool. They really add to the game, and it was a genuine challenge. I did a solo. It was a genuine challenge for me. Had to go in, had to experiment with a bunch of new weapons in order to do it. But I had a lot of fun with this. I think that for all my gripes about the campaign and honestly about Namuna itself, I like the events that you can do. I think that there's fun little random secret events. Like there's a Vex construct. Let me go scan this. And oh shit, powerful Vex showing up in 30 seconds. You got to shoot all these things to act as like an authenticator code that are around you. Shoot all like 5 things, and all of a sudden the conflicts disappears and you get a chest. If you don't do that, there's a Minotaur or a Wyvern that'll spawn on you.
Ooh.
It's not hard to kill them, but you just got to kill them. You can pick up a Cabal antenna and go running with it, and they will target you from space and start shooting lasers down at you. Things like that are really, really fun to me. I think that those are interesting and unique things that make the world feel a little more alive than we've seen in the past. It's a step in the right direction, I'll say that.
Yeah.
However, the city feels really empty, even though we do get an explanation for that with the Cloud Arc. Everybody's consciousness is uploaded as a security protocol for what's happening with the invasion. It is a bummer that we only ever talk to Nimbus and Rohan. They are the only two there's only 2 Cloud Striders at any time. It's a total like Sith rule of 2 thing, by the way.
Yeah.
No more, no less.
Right. I wonder, man, I had a theory.
What's
I don't
your theory?
know.
Hit me with your theory. Hit me with your theory, Corey.
I don't know if it's gonna happen or not, but I wonder if Osiris becomes obsessed with Strand and he like wants to become a Cloud Strider. I had that thought, but I also think like it's probably too late for him.
Who, Osiris?
Yeah.
I think it is. I mean, so Osiris, you will get to a point listening to because there's interludes. You can go talk to Osiris after each mission, and if you
Right.
haven't done the, or if you have even done the campaign, I encourage you to go do it because it's
Yeah.
really rewarding.
Yeah.
But Osiris will leave to go back to the tower. I assume he'll come back for some quests throughout the year because
Yeah.
he says himself, "I'm going to keep a watchful eye over Nimbus and Rohan, or not
Yeah.
Rohan, Nimbus and Neomuna."
Yeah.
I think that's really fascinating that Osiris has kind of taken it upon himself to do this. And you also have to wonder at this point what else is in his mind that Savathun may have accidentally shown him. I I think Nimbus's biggest fault is that their writing is so inconsistent.
Yeah.
Um they are meant to be this jokey character, and I get that, oh, they're supposed to be the comic relief, and I just think it falls really flat. Like, at the same time though, I don't want to complain that they're not serious enough, because guess what? We have enough serious characters that are crossing their arms back at the tower. I really don't need to add another character to our repertoire doing that.
Right. I mean,
So
yeah,
that's
I
kind of
think
my
do you
thought.
think it has something to do with their voice modulation? Like, I feel like some of their jokes don't come off as
I think that's part of it, genuinely, and it's that
yeah.
I want to be very clear. That is no slight to the voice actor.
No, 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 no. This is definitely a
This
hey,
was an
we went
audio
in.
choice. This was an
Yes.
audio mixing choice.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah.
I do think that affects it quite a bit, because I described Nimbus's voice as a cheese grater on my ears at one point,
Hmm.
and that bothers me.
Yeah.
I do think the potential is there, though, for Nimbus to be an integral part of the story going forward.
Yeah.
I also think it's interesting that they've put there's a time limit on Nimbus. I don't remember off the top of my head
It's
if
10
I'm.
years. Cloud
Well,
Striders are
I
10
know it's
years.
10 years. I don't know how long Nimbus has been a Cloud
Oh.
Strider off the top of my head. I'm sure it is explored in the lore books that I have not had a chance to read
Well,
yet.
well, called himself a rookie a couple times, so that makes me think it's probably been about a year or less, right? I mean, that's what I'm
I think either way, I think it's interesting that we have a preordained end date for a character in the franchise.
yeah.
That if there were to be a time skip, him and Osiris might not be around anymore.
Yeah.
If there were to be a time skip, they're not exactly immortal.
Right.
So I think that adds an interesting layer to this. But again, I think that them being kind of jokey would have been a bit better if we'd been introduced to them, I don't know, even a season ago. I could actually kind of would have been cool if we accidentally stumbled upon a Neomunan outpost, or that was like the final pirate hideout, was the space station where Elsie found her puka. That
Yeah,
actually could have been really interesting, and be like, what? Like, if that's where we started figuring out that the Ishtar Collective and the Nephili Stronghold were actually a thing.
I actually thought about maybe what if they hinted at something like this in Beyond Light, because we were out that way
I think
too.
there's a lot of things you could have done to set this up a little bit better.
Yeah.
It feels very random to me that that Neomuna and Neptune are introduced now, but I get it. This is an expansion that I think honestly would have been better served if we didn't. I can't believe I'm gonna say this, if we didn't have a new destination.
Yeah.
I'm not saying like, oh, we needed to go back to Venus or something, but I think it's a little late in the game for us to be introducing a brand new planet and patrol zone and everything else, when we could have overhauled maybe one of these others, or like, oh, maybe they're searching for the Veil on Io or on Venus, like somewhere that we've been before. I
Yeah.
think there's a lot of opportunities we could have taken with the game design here, but I'm
Yeah,
gonna
but
keep.
would we have been complaining that they brought another D1 destination back with Venus, or would we explore a different part of Venus, or you know what I mean? Like I don't know. I feel like
I understand. I think that you're between a rock and a hard place here,
Mhm.
because it feels to me that we're gonna explore somewhere different
Mhm.
in Final Shape, I think there's going to be some timey-wimey bullshit. I think we're jumping through time for a few things. Would not surprise me if there was like a campaign mission in the Vault of Glass, for example. What if you're in the Vault of Glass fighting alongside Praetor? Things like that could be really cool. I think that they're setting it up for a big ending, but they kind of stumbled along the way. So let's. I don't know. Do we have any final thoughts on the Lightfall campaign, on Neomuna? or any more like basic impressions of Strand?
I I'm intrigued on where it's going. I think I'm more intrigued now actually because I was kind of disappointed in the campaign and
Yeah.
I want to know if there's going to be that kind of like Avengers style is this going to pay off later type thing. And I also wonder how they're going to wrap it up and I because like for me like the final shape is like the final thing and then the seasons after are going to set up what's next, right? Like that to me that's where I feel
Yeah.
like this is going. And now I'm wondering how they're going to wrap it up in 4 seasons and an expansion rather than, you know, unless they push the final shape, but I doubt they'll want to do that.
So that's kind of the last thing I want to bring up as a part of this discussion. I'm glad you said that because I almost glossed over it. I saw some people suggesting that Lightfall should have been delayed. And I do want to say that I think that one of the things that helped the Witch Queen get like that extra layer of polish was
Mhm.
it being bumped from a September window when they usually release these expansions, or even bumping it from like November when they probably would have released the Witch Queen to the end of February. And giving them that
Mhm.
extra 3 or 4 months actually was a game changer.
Yeah.
I I'm not going to say that I'm surprised that we did not get one, but I think that he's going to let it sit until we get the raid out. I don't think we're going to hear from Joe Blackburn until after that, but I would expect him to hear about. I would expect to hear from Joe probably right after the raid.
Yeah.
Maybe as early next week, because it's kind of funny that we got the state of the game before the release of Lightfall when I kind of feel like we need another one not even a month later.
Yeah.
um, some reassurances, and I do think the TWAB today did a little bit of that. I'm gonna fly through a couple quick notes in the TWAB after we get done with this review, before we move on to sharing some of our community thoughts on the campaign and whatnot. But at this point, if there are not conversations happening inside of Bungie already this week of hey, we might need to add some lead time onto the final shape to be absolutely fucking certain that we're gonna nail this,
Mhm.
then there need to have those conversations have got to be happening now.
Yeah.
It's also very clear. I know we've said this a few times in the past year. The engine is at its limit. You can feel it in this expansion
Yeah. Especially with all the verticality and like
with the
just moving through.
verticality and the fact that I feel like if we had left last gen behind, we could have done something more now.
They're not leaving that behind until after the final shape.
There has to be a conversation, I think, with Pete Parsons, Luke Smith, Joe Blackburn, whoever needs to be in that room, with Herman Holst, saying, "Hey, we need you to give us the polishing studio that Sony uses to like polish up on Naughty Dog and Santa Monica games and whatnot.
Yeah.
We need them to help us build shit for Final Shape. Like right
Yeah.
now, we need to start this now. We need them for you need them for like 18 months. Even if it's just handing off building some of the seasonal content to them so they can pull like their seasonal teams in to make shit for Final Shape.
Yeah.
There's some stuff that needs to happen here. And I think that the direction needs to be a little bit tighter. I don't think Joe's a bad director. I want to be really clear. I think the franchise is in great hands. We saw that with, look at the Witch Queen. The Witch Queen's
Mhm.
arguably the best expansion in Destiny 2.
I would argue it's Bungie's best campaign since Halo, to be honest. At some point.
Yeah, I can make that argument. I don't know that I would, but I can make that. I could make the
Yeah.
argument that it's their best story since Halo 3.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that's part of the shot that we have. Right, we went from the best to okay, it's fine. You know, it's not life altering. It's fine. Like the people who are screaming, there were legitimately people screaming and calling for the narrative team at Bungie to be fired. You're out of your damn mind. I saw some lamenting that, oh, you have the Sony money now. Why wasn't it better? And I mean, we already knew that nothing was really going to change with Lightfall in regards to that. Final Shape was really when we were going to start to see the Sony money start to take effect. So I hope that they've got an outside studio helping, or that they've pulled in that internal PlayStation Polish team to help with that. Um, this is important, and honestly, I kind of think that they needed to, I thought this a couple years ago. I think it now. I think you need to pause work on those other games that you're working on to make sure that this has a good ending,
Mm-hmm.
especially after what you just saw.
Right.
Like, I think that a lot of the negative feelings here are amplified. I think that they're completely correct, right? As long as we're expressing them, in a constructive way and not just screaming fire everybody, right? And fuck Bungie. I think that these are amplified by the lack of PvP updates, the lack of care to Gambit, Gambit, lol, the vaulting of seasonal content, and the fact that we had a pretty middling season in Plunder. If you look at this, Plunder excluded, the last time that we had a weak story was Beyond Light,
Mm-hmm.
and that was 2.5 years ago almost. Excluding Plunder, we had the story in Hunt. We had the story in. Sorry, I thought it for a second. We had the story in Hunt. We had Chosen. We had Splicer. We had Lost. We had the Witch Queen, Risen, Haunted. You had a bit of stumbling in Plunder, although shit, with us coming around to Nezarec, that may even redeem itself partially.
Yeah.
And partially, not a lot, but partially. Maybe in retrospect it'll look better. And then you had the awesome Seraph at the end.
Right.
So we stumbled a little bit. I still think this is better than Beyond Light. It's definitely better than Plunder.
Yeah. I mean, look, this stumble is still better than what they were doing. Okay.
So I mean,
Like,
like in 3 years, because I mean, you can even reach back. You can even reach back to fucking Arrivals. In almost 3 years, this is one of two things we can look at and be like, yeah, that was pretty disappointing story wise. And yet, the supplemental content has been really good so far. We are 48 hours into this release.
yeah.
At the time of this recording, the game has not even been out for 60 hours yet, and there are people declaring that the franchise is dead. It's got the worst reviews on Steam since Shadowkeep. It's got worse reviews than Shadowkeep on Steam, which blows my mind.
That's harsh.
Anyone who tells you with a straight face that this is worse than Shadowkeep, just that's not somebody you need in your life.
Yeah, they're wrong.
They're wrong. But I want to share.
Shadowkeep is bad.
It's bad, and it's gotten worse. It's gotten worse in retrospect. Like,
Yeah.
the pyramid reveal was there, and then you got a whole bunch of nothing. The supplemental content of Eris's, nightmares is
Yeah.
excellent. Excellent. But everything else blows. It all blows. I want to read a few reactions from. I went and solicited our community on Discord for a few reactions to this over the last couple of days. And I'm gonna read a few of them. I asked for 3 to 4 sentences. I got like 4 paragraphs from a lot of these people, so I'm gonna read parts of these. Tiger Jesus writes in and says the legendary campaign had solid missions. Story could have used an ink blot to explain the plot MacGuffin. Strand feels underwhelming but has potential. Kind of the same things that we were feeling, I think, overall.
Mm-hmm.
Joasis, of course, wrote in. The missions were inherently fun, but honestly, the story was a mess. I don't know if they tried to tackle too many things at once, but this expansion feels like filler for Final Shape, and it's not looking good that they charge $50 for filler. Pause. I want to pause there for a second in regards to filler. And this is not targeted at Joasis. I hate the filler argument because I think a season can be filler, but I want to use the TV analogy. I really hate when were people saying like, "Oh, this is just filler. This is just filler" in TV shows because it didn't explicitly shove the plot forward. I don't think this is filler. I think enough things happen that you could not do these you could not have done these events like taking down Callus in a season.
Yeah.
You needed to actually have that in game. And I'm okay with that. I don't think you would have gotten a destination added, but much like we said, this feels like it was supposed to be a part 1. It kind of feels like the death of Callus should have been like the 60% mark, frankly. If you had removed Strand, that probably would have been like maybe even the halfway point of the expansion.
Yeah, I feel like the Callus boss fight actually feels like a 2/3 of the way. Hey, we're 2/3 of the way through here. Let's that first
here
that
we're gonna throw a huge right hook at you now for something you didn't expect.
Yeah, it feels like okay that the tormentor in the big kind of room while you're infiltrating. not the first one, but I think it's the second one. Uh, when you're going into Callus's ship, I think,
Hmm.
and that one that you're fighting where all like the Cabal tanks are and stuff. I feel like that would be like, okay, that's the first major tormentor that you're kind of fighting,
Yeah,
with mechanics going on, a few mechanics going on here and there. That's like 1/3, and then Callus would be like 2/3, and then
yeah.
whatever's the witnesses, like the final shape campaign, would be like the last third.
And I agree with that. Let's keep so also $50 for filler. I mean the expansions have long been $40. This feels like just kind of like the natural increase of things. Everything's gotten more expensive.
Hmm.
And I don't know if I believe they've done it in the past, but I'm not entirely certain. Um, including the first season pass. I think they've done it before, but I don't explicitly remember. But that may also be why it was 50 instead of 40. I do think though that you could have charged
Hmm.
40 for this if you were including the
Hmm.
season and 30 just for the expansion. If this was priced lower, I think there would have been less outrage. I'm just gonna throw that out there. Um
Yeah, I don't
Joe
know.
also says, and Joe goes on to say the same thing. You don't have to read all this. This feels like it should have been maybe a $35 or $40 expansion, not the most expensive one to date. Though we're only 48 hours, so it's too early to tell. Nerd generalist I agree with the points made by Tiger Jesus and Joasis. Story from you lacked the appropriate tone. New characters feel shallow and disposable. Yumon is beautiful but empty and flat. Cutscene work was great. Music is fantastic. Um, I don't know if Nerd. I don't know if you've had a chance to check it out, but you should definitely go check out that Super Public event. I think that and the Lost Sectors, the Hard Reset, I think is what it's called, which is the special effects mission you can do once a week in the occupied zone. I think that the exotic quest. I think a lot of that does a lot to like add to the
Yeah.
things that you didn't care for, and it's a
Hmm.
shame that it all comes in supplemental content. I would have loved for this stuff to have been part of the campaign.
Yeah.
Um, of course, we weren't going to get out of this without A1 Johnny
No, of
contributing.
course not.
I had a lot of fun playing through the campaign. Regular flow of oh shit moments that had me smiling. That said, for the penultimate episode of the saga, it felt like the wrong time for yet another stay tuned, find out more ending. Maybe because I'm a Callus simp, I was really hoping he was going to have his own plan, some wrench to throw in the witness's plan at the end. Nope, that's not Callus. Callus wants whatever is going to keep him alive at the end of the universe. He thought it was a one-way ticket to partying, and I think kind of forgot how much we can fuck his shit up. Quality of life changes across the board are a huge W in my book. Strand, especially in Titan, is a lot better than I was expecting it to be. Um, totally agree. Gonna save some of the quality of life thoughts for next week, I think.
Hmm.
But early impressions on the loadout system, I really like it. I still think Dim is probably better, but as far as an in-game tool, it's
Hmm.
really good.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to really sit and play with it yet, but I'll play with it once I get leveled more and have
Mm-hmm.
resources to do more.
Andre writes in. We haven't heard from Andre in a long
Ooh,
time. The
Andre.
music was great. Cutscenes were awesome. New city is interesting. Strand is a bit meh, but the potential is there for it to be badass. Overall, story felt a bit rushed and could have been longer, but I enjoyed it nonetheless. I'd give this a 7 out of 10, especially the holy shit moments. I think we all share the same positives. There were a lot of big, awesome set pieces and moments in the campaign. Some awesome music. Of course, Bungie's music team kills it, and the
Hmm.
cinematics were just chef's kiss.
Yeah.
We this again, like the most cutscenes we got a perfect mix of the drawn ones. We got one that kind of looked like a painting that was like moving around.
Hmm.
One of the Callous ones,
Yeah.
and then we got a
Well,
lot of
there was
in-engine
that
ones.
also. There was that Callus one too, where like the it was like cracking and stuff while it was playing. Or is that
Yeah.
the painting one you're talking about?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
That's
Yeah.
that's the one I'm talking about. Yeah, and I contributed to the conversation about like, yeah, I will accept no slander on cinematic, sound, audio, or skybox teams. Um,
Who
and then
listened?
Joe continues as we were having a whole discussion in there. Joe continues to say, it wasn't a bad campaign, just not up to the par of Witch Queen. And as Johnny says, at the end of the day, it's still a better campaign than Shadowkeep and Beyond Light.
Yes.
Our last comment on this story comes to us from Ronnie. And I've been really interested to see what Ronnie's been saying. I know he was playing through it with some friends. He was playing through it with Saint 14 and with I saw his buddy Aaron in there with him too. Um, Ronnie has a bit of a different take. He has a bit of a different take than us, and I like this, and that's why I want to read his in full. It's a little long-winded, but we only have really one question tonight, so I want to take the time to do this. People are complaining about the story, but I don't see it. Maybe my outlook is different. This was the big blockbuster movie that kicks off the new hit TV show, Seasonal Stories, and will develop over time. Did we leave Lightfall with more questions than answers? Yeah, we did, just like a movie would have. Is there some cringe stuff? Sure. I'd probably give this an easy 7.5 out of 10 so far. Strand feels different to get than stasis missions because, well, we all thought we were getting something we shouldn't have been getting, plus the long dry spell with just 3 subclasses. Strand had a tough act to follow after all 3 subclasses getting overhauled and feeling fresh and new. So maybe the feeling isn't that it's mid, but it's just at this point not as flashy and feels lackluster compared to what we've had since 3.0. I would agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
When they
Yeah,
were
that's a good
introducing it,
point.
I was like, cool, I'll use it for the campaign, then I'll probably put it away because I finally have builds that I enjoy on these other classes. And instead, I'm running Strand a lot because it's really fucking fun.
Yeah.
Grappling around and using rope darts is really fun, guys.
Dude, grappling is so much fun. I
It's so
cannot
much
stress
fun.
it enough.
The quality of life stuff is amazing so far. Mods made simpler and more casual. Vendors with actual stuff we want or to try to grind for now instead of not caring for a whole expansion. Absolutely agree. Really happy about that. Glad you pointed that one out. Ada having old shaders, Amanda not being there because of the storyline, being able to get adept rerolls, all get a chef's kiss. The challenge aspect of it is also a huge W. Things actually feel pretty tanky without feeling like a bullet sponge for the most part. Tormentors are an awesome concept, and there were plenty of times Aaron, Saint, and I forgot to read the rest of that. I did not screenshot it properly.
Oh, fail.
Yeah,
Josh failed,
absolutely.
everybody.
I definitely failed, and I'm not happy about it.
Oh,
Would jump around waiting to get cleared so we didn't get grabbed. Like I stated, overall 7.5 out of 10, and we're only 3 days from launch. Yeah, Ronnie, congratulations for being a beacon of positivity and not going out like I did. So
yeah.
there you have it. I think most of us are all pretty much in agreement. This is, I would say, if I were to put I don't know why I just turned on my light. If I were to put a score on this, which I'm hesitant to do without finishing the other 2 exotic quests and without doing the raid. If I were to give it an initial grade right now, this would be a 7.5, bordering on an 8 for me. And that doesn't mean, oh my god, it's amazing. That's 7.5 means good.
Yeah.
That means good. Like it means good, and good does not mean it's not 10 or nothing. That's not how we grade things.
Mm-hmm.
It's good. It's good. It has a lot of good parts. It's just the package isn't great.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, it's a lot of the forcing Strand on us, the lack of, like, I don't know, vibes in Neomuna, I guess you could say. I don't know how else to describe it. And the MacGuffins of the campaign not being explained really all kind of spiral a little bit. And I think there's some community animosity on top of that. And it just is like, yeah, I can see why there would be some vitriol after that. So I'd probably say for the campaign, I'm gonna, if I'm just taking the campaign into perspective, not the whole package, just the campaign, I probably got to go 7.
Yeah.
I'd probably go 7. I might go up to a 7.5. It's absolutely a 7.5 if I can include the exotic LMG quest as part of the story. Because I do think that it's a very fitting epilogue for the game that actually makes me feel differently about the characters and the events. Like, it genuinely does enough lifting there, and lore-wise, it is one of the most important exotic quests that we've gotten in a very long time.
Yeah.
Going all the way back to literally going all the way back to the events of Destiny 1. So I'd probably get this a 7. I could be persuaded to go up to a 7.5. Corey, where are you sitting at if you were to score this today?
I would probably
just
say
the campaign.
Yeah,
let's take let's take anything that we do like post exotic quest out.
Yeah, this is just the campaign. I would probably say I'd probably say about a 7. I would say a 7. The reason why I say a 7 is because I feel like the Witch Queen was so good, and maybe my disappointment that it wasn't as good as the Witch Queen maybe knocked it down further than maybe it should have.
Hmm.
And like you said, there's just like a lack of life in this city that feel like is supposed to be thriving, right? And I know the story reasons for it, but that's also like the Batman Arkham. Oh, it's Christmas, so everyone's inside because it's snowing, kind of thing to me, you know. uh, but
It's kind of a
but
lame excuse ultimately.
yeah, but also I want to point out that they've never really done an active city before either,
No,
right? So
I think
that
the explanation for not having the active city makes sense. Everybody's loaded up into the cloud arc, and I
mhm,
do like that the citizens talk to you via the cloud. I think that's actually a really unique
yeah,
twist on like random dialogue you might hear.
mhm,
But maybe give us more than just two cloud striders. Maybe cloud striders could be coming around like helping out like NPCs. Maybe there should be
yeah.
some friendly cabal,
I
Vanguard frames. I don't know.
I wonder if Nimbus is going to take this kind of, no pun intended, stride of his newfound role as like the lead slash only Cloud Strider, and maybe change that rule of we only have two at a time because the
I
threat is so much
genuinely think
bigger.
that one of the final things that we see in the final shape, like if there's a cutscene wrapping everything up, a la Vanilla Destiny 1, I
Yeah.
think that you will, or even Vanilla Destiny 2, I think you'll get a scene. I think you'll see scenes of like what all of our allies are doing in the aftermath, and I think
Hmm.
that one of them for Nimbus will be being put into the Hall of Heroes before he's dead.
Hmm.
Um, Even though that's not how they do things, like his memorial being etched, or their
Hmm.
memorial being etched as one of the great Cloud Striders, as he deserves to be remembered after the campaign, just like
Hmm.
Rohan is. Um, but also training the next generation. I could see
Yeah.
that happening.
Yeah.
I think that would be really, really important to see, and I think that also opens the door for them to possibly accompany us on whatever happens next.
Yeah.
If there's more Cloud Striders to protect Niamuna. So, kind of some food for thought. We do have one question tonight.
Ooh.
It's a bit of a special one. Our old friend World Jukebox
World Jukebox. Stay safe, buddy.
writes in, yes,
Thank you for
good old
doing what you're
Trevor.
doing.
Hello from Kuwait. Miss you guys. Question about Lightfall, but also Destiny as a whole. As we approach 10 years of this beautiful game, what do you think the 10-year anniversary plan will be? Secrets, merch, in-game activities, etc. Hashtag it's been a week. Well, Trevor, first off,
Yeah.
thank you for writing in. It's been a while. Hope you're staying safe.
Yes.
Um, we are in year 9 right now. The 10-year
So
anniversary,
crazy.
the 10-year
So
anniversary
crazy.
actually will not be until 2024. I think it's pretty clear why the final shape is lined up to be there. Also, hey Bungie, if you were gonna delay it, you could always delay it to the original date that Destiny came out.
Oh man, could you
Um,
imagine that's what they did that?
could you imagine them getting 6 more months to work on this? Absolutely. Um, I do think that there will be. I mean, obviously, we're thinking. I can't even think about what's going to be like merch and things like that. There's going to be a bunch of merch. If the 30th anniversary of Bungie was any indication,
Better start saving now, Josh, because
oh my god, dude, listen, I'm so broke from all the shit that I bought.
if they sell a 10-year anniversary collector's edition, I will be getting that.
I would be getting that too. It needs to have Dinklebot though. Dinklebot has to talk.
God.
Um,
What if it's literally like what if it's another kind of ghost edition and it talks Dinklebot just talks to you.
that'd be great. I mean, the one that I got in the original Ghost edition does have his voice in it.
Yeah.
I would say that I think that us getting an anniversary pack actually feels pretty much guaranteed. And if you were to punt, so I'm talking hypothetically, or if you were to punt final shape, give us a wrap up season along with it, you know. But
Hmm.
how about that second season, quote unquote? What if that's just an anniversary pack?
Yeah.
And it's just like fucking vibes. What if the anniversary pack is bringing D1 into D2
Oh no. What if
for
it's
good?
just that what if it's that original kind of like year one of Destiny, but reworked into a story that's comprehensive and fluid. Like even
What if we get the original E3 mission?
man. Well, we kind of did though, right? That's the New Light mission. That is the New Light mission.
Yeah, I guess.
That is the first. I
I
mean,
want Joe
like,
Staten narrating it.
oh, geez. No, I wonder if like what would be cool is if that was kind of like a nod, like that original storyline of because like if you remember when uh, Rise of Iron came out, they kind of reworked the entire House of Wolves and Crota's End or Dark Below into that original storyline quest
Yes.
and kind of tried to piece it together. What if they streamlined the whole thing and just did that?
I mean, the Taken King was supposed to be a part of it originally too.
Yeah, I know. And each planet was you were supposed to start on a planet, depending on which race you started as. Oh
There were
man,
a lot of things that they just simply couldn't do because of 360 and PS3. I think it still would have been hard with any other class, but
hmm
yeah.
yeah,
So, like beyond knowing that they're going to give us a 10th anniversary pack in game, I can't really think of anything else right now off the top of my head because that is 16 months away, roughly.
yeah.
And I need to see if I can make it through the final shape first at this point. Unfortunately, I don't think my timing is off on that. Destiny did come out in 2014, right?
Yeah, yeah, because it was yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, September 9th, 2014. I didn't think I was going crazy. So,
Well,
we may be able to revisit this in like around episode 200. We might have a better idea by then.
yeah, we're close. Just
We're
kidding.
not. We're not close at all.
We're 70, 60 something episodes away.
Oh my
It's close
god.
enough.
All right. Well, there you have it, guys. Lightfall, the campaign, the good, the bad, and sometimes kind of ugly.
Yeah. If you're a newer listener, join the Discord and tell us how you feel about the campaign.
Yeah,
Because
come tell me how wrong I am.
and especially if you're like a listener and you found this and you jumped in at Lightfall, which
Oh,
hi, welcome.
I
But
would love to hear if Lightfall was your first experience with Destiny.
yeah,
Holy shit.
oh
My
man.
my DMs are open.
Also, sorry that you had to do the new light stuff.
Yeah, oof. I have a friend who's going through it right now because he got Beyond Light for free on PS Plus, and he is like, what on earth is happening right now?
Yeah.
So I feel bad that I'm having to explain that.
You should have been like, you're not on Earth, you're on Europa.
Oh my god. All right, Corey. Do the thing. Let's get out of here.
Are we getting out of here? Is it time?
I think
Is it
it's time. I think we're getting out of here. Yeah, I've had enough time to do quests. I've not had enough time to do lore yet. So
No, that's
I
fine.
need to like formulate some lore corners.
No, that's cool. That's good. Yeah, so I want to thank everybody for watching and or listening to this episode of Tower Casuals. If you like the show, leave us a rating or a nice review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. It really helps. Welcome on all the new listeners. It's cool because not that anybody really cares, but Anchor keeps track of like how many new listeners you have in the coming in like the last week or two, and it's like it's really nice to see a lot of new listeners join us. So welcome to all you new lights out there. That's what we're going to call you, even if you're not. Josh, where can we find you?
Twitter at Josh_Finn, 2 N's, and of course in the Discord. I'm Finn in the Discord. Come hang out with us. Talk Lightfall. Talk some spoilers, some theories. We're gonna be breaking down the raid in the next couple of weeks. We got one more episode to get through next week. We're gonna talk a little bit about the season. We're gonna go a little bit more in on Strand, and on some of these quests. Hopefully, I'll have the other 2 exotic quests wrapped up by that point to be able to talk about them a bit more. And then the week after, I'd say prepare yourselves. You're probably getting 2 episodes. You're gonna get a raid review, as always, and then you're gonna get a regular episode on Thursday. So.
Yeah.
Be looking for that. Not this coming week, but the week after. The week of the 12th.
Yes.
Be looking for 2 episodes.
Well, you can follow me at IamCoreyHD on Twitter and Instagram. You can also follow Tower Casuals at Tower Casuals on most social media platforms. Subscribe on YouTube if you want to watch the video version. I want to thank everybody for watching and or listening. And until next time, we love you. Goodbye.